Hello everyone and welcome to question time. A bit later than usual, just because I had a few meetings to go to, so had to call it quits on trying to get on that time. But we're here anyway, and we're here to answer your questions regarding game dev, Unreal Engine, anything you really want at all. So all you have to do, if you don't know how this works, is just put your question into chat. I'll try and grab as many of these questions as possible. If I do miss your question, don't fret, just put it back into chat and I'll try and catch it again the next time. So yeah, we're here. I can see people's questions already starting to come in. But hello everyone who's made it into today at this later time. Let me just sort out the audio in my ear. That's very loud. There we go. Okay, so okay, so we've got questions coming in. Hello Mark Ola, you alright? How's everyone doing? So the first question we've got here is from, let me just move my little face down here. Is from Klaus. Klausberg is asking a question: how to make flying AI pathfinding. So some bad news for you. There is no built-in way of doing AI pathfinding for in air. You should do it kind of yourself, really. So the way you'd obviously we can't do this right now because it'll take way too long. But generally speaking, if you want to do AI pathfinding where they have to just fly towards you in open space, so like open here, it's a lot simpler. If you want to make them avoid objects like asteroids or like buildings or shapes like that, a little bit more tricky. Essentially, you've got to do some advanced sort of ray casting out to find out if there's anything in their trajectory, and if there is, make them turn towards it. So it's not exactly a simple process. In terms of getting them to go straight towards you, one benefit of doing flying AI is it can be very much as the crow flies, so you can just get the vector of the player character and make them just move towards you. So yeah, it's not anything simple. Not something we could do within the hour of it here, or we could do it probably within an hour, but it'll literally be the only question we answer. So I'll put on the list of videos to try and record and do videos on. So we'll see how that goes. Yeah. Next question. Hi Ryan, this is from Matt91 Alien. How would you go about making Command and Conquer style AI where they build a base and army to try and kill the player? Understand if this can't be answered in right now. Love your content, thank you. Okay, so that sort of AI is a bit tricky because it's not directly like it's not straight as you can imagine. It's not straightforward. You have the way I would approach it is you have a AI sort of manager, sort of like the other player type of thing. and they would have certain make them goal orientated, and I would give them goals priorities. So their first goal would be resources are low, get them resources, and then have different things like aggression and things like that to fluctuate what they prioritize more over the other. Oh, my cat is asking to go out. Hang on. Go on, there you go. So yeah, that'd be my approach. Because then it'd be more flexible and I can make it, I can customize sort of the difficulty it does. But you have to kind of think about how a player would make decisions too. But the thing you would have to do for a RTS AI is build in some sort of thinking time. So if you want to mimic and playing another player, you need to have some thinking time, because otherwise AI could literally just trigger things to be spawned in whenever they want. So yeah, build in some thinking time, some delays, to slow it down. Otherwise, it'd be a bit too difficult to fight against. Next question is from James McElmore. Hey Ryan, I'm trying to make a material, I'm guessing it's meant to say, that bends a widget around a circle of a radius. Equals the widget's distance to the center of the screen. Could you explain a bit more about what you're trying to do, James? Making a material that bends a widget around a circle of radius. What is this being used for? Let us know what you're using that for, and I could probably have a better idea of that. Okay. Keebs. How could I create a fishing system from the first person perspective? Cast a line, fish nibbling, reeling the fish in, etc. I really want to make a fishing tutorial. I don't know why. It's on the to-do list of things. We can do a very simple thing in here. As for the inventory thing, that's simple enough. Just follow my inventory series. It's that process. Let me add a first person stuff to this, so I can do a first person fishing mini game. But yeah, I've always been wanting to try and do a fishing mini game. I've never done one before, so I really wanted to try one out. But yeah, so to do this, you need to obviously cast a line and things like that. And you also, every game has a different type of fishing mini game. They have different rules and things like that. So if you do the basic thing of like cast a line out, hold down a button to cast a line out, and then you have to wait for it to bob, and then when it bobs, you have to put it in, and then there's that pulling in bit that you can either make just instant or add a mini game into it, whatever it may be. Yeah, it depends entirely on your game's design in that sense. But if you want to do like casting a line out thing, we can do that today. So let's go ahead into our first person character. I'm just going to build it straight into the character just to save time. Let me just bring that. There we go. Okay, so we'll do it with the right mouse button. And actually, let's do enhanced input because that'd be better. So we'll do input, enhanced input, and cast line. And the cast line action is going to be a trigger for hold and release. Okay. So it triggers when I release it after holding it for a certain amount of time. Save that. Close that. Okay, now I can do that. A cast line. There we go. So I think we really want to get out from this is the elapsed seconds. So when we start it and the elapsed seconds. So when we start it, we're basically moving a thing out from the character. And that'd be based on an arc. So because you do want to still like have some sort of arc in it. So you can easily work that out though. So if you do predict, what's it called? Velocity projectile suggest. Yeah. So suggest projectile velocity. So this is like the velocity the projectile needs to fly through. So the line essentially of throwing out. When we start it, ongoing, sorry, we're going to do suggest projectile velocity. And the start location will be our actor's location. The end location, though, is going to change based on the elapsed seconds. So we're going to get the end location from our actor's forward vector. Actor forward vector. Multiplied by, and this will be a float. And I want the elapsed seconds multiplied by the distance I want it to maximum be. Not maximum, maximum be. I want it to be, let's say, 500. Okay, so we'll clamp that as well. Clamp float, because obviously you don't want it to go on forever. So we'll clamp the float between 0 and, let's say, 2000. And we'll put that into there. And put that into end location. Cool. So you probably want something visual on the end location as well. So let's do that. Let's make a little decal or something. Material. Cast line decal. And I'll just do a very simple like circle. And do that. 0.5, 0.5. Chuck that into B. 0.5. And we'll just chuck that into base color. And also opacity mask. No, opacity mask, opacity. Because when we change this to a translucent decal, we want that there. In fact, actually, let's make it emissive so it glows a bit. There we go. Right. So let's just add. So when we start this, we're going to create a decal. So create decal, not create, spawn decal, isn't it? Spawn decal. At location. Decal be our decal. Cast line decal. Decal size, we'll do 30, 30, 30. Location, we'll start as our access location. But then I want to promote it to a variable because I need to change its properties as the think time goes on. So I need access to it. So cast line target. We'll go there. Okay. Yeah, so I'll do that. And then on the ongoing here, I'm going to drag out my cast line target and set location. Set world location to this. Oh, endpoint. I need to add these two together. Whoops, forgot. End. Right, so this endpoint will go to new location there. So it's not 100% accurate yet because we have to take into account velocity, but more on that in a moment. So I just want to see if this works. Not seeing any lines come up. Hold on. So let's just make sure this is working. Let's just print string this. And then print string this. Nothing. It should be ongoing. Maybe it's not ongoing. I'm guessing this is working. Oh. No. Oh, because I made the mappings. I'm such an idiot. Whoops. You tell it's later in the day. It's about 11 p.m. here. So yeah, so I forgot to go into here and add it in here. That would help. Cast line. Right, mouse button. There we go. There we go. Right, so we're getting the value coming out now. Cool. Right, we're not seeing this decal. Oh, the decal is spawning in the wrong place. That's sorry. Again, it's late. So the problem I've got here is the world location I'm getting this to is not along the floor. It needs to be on the floor. So I need to find the floor. So search find floor. Well, I'll tell you what would be better if I just did a line trace down. Line trace by channel. Start point is going to be this location there. We'll just drag that back to there. No, not there, sorry. And the end location is this one. Subtract, I don't know, 500. We'll try that. And we're going to out hit, split that, and just chuck in the location there. Right, now let's try this. There you go. Right, so we'll let go of it. It's going to stay where I put it. Okay. There we go again. So we've got something akin to a cast line targeter. You then want to, yeah. So once we've done that, need to tie this up really. So the problem we have with this is that this gives us a toss velocity, but we can't do it without a launch speed. So you give it a launch speed here of like 1,000, and we'll favor a high arc like that. The toss velocity. Also draw a debug while I'm doing it. The toss velocity is the speed and direction that it's going to be launched at. So the line trace by channel is not actually going to be using the end location really here. Oh, is it? Actually, no. Kind of, it gets clamped by this. So let's just debug and see if that lines up with debug. That's the main thing. Oh, so okay, yeah, that's not bad. Let's hold it to maximum. That's maximum. So there's the arc. Okay, so it obviously not calculating the full length of the distance it needs to go. So we need to give it higher speed based on that distance. So this launch speed is 1,000. I'm going to multiply it by... Well, I'll tell you what. Could I just put this in there? Let's see if that works. Maybe we may have to add a little offset to it, but let's try it. It's maximum. I tell you what. That's pretty damn good. Okay, cool. We'll take that. So the launch speed is the same as the distance we're taking it. Sweet. Okay, so that's where it's going to launch it. And if you don't want to do a high arc, you can just turn off that tick box. Now you'll see the different type of arc it does. Yeah. So yeah, again. Ah. Okay, so I just realized my thing wasn't scrolled up well. Yeah, so when we've got that, we now need to launch the actual projectile, the reeler that you want to launch out, really. So we're going to do another thing in here, custom event called cast line. Cast line. And that's going to spawn a projectile. Spawn actor from class. We'll use the projectile that we've got on our thing. Projectile. First person projectile for now. Spawn transform. I'm going to split that. The location of this is going to be actor location. And we want to change its speed and its velocity when it launches out of here. So the cast line, we need a velocity. So we're going to add in there a velocity. That'd be a vector. And to get that as a rotation, just drag it into it and it should just turn it into a rotator for you. And then from here, we have to get the projectile movement. And we do set initial speed, set max speed to the same thing. And that thing is the length of velocity here. Okay. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this ball, when it hits the floor, just to stop. So projectile movement should bounce but turn off. Yeah, and that should just stop there. Okay. So, oh, didn't actually call the damn thing, did I? So cast line happens when I complete the cast line. So we'll just do cast line completed. And the velocity will be this toss velocity. We'll promote to a variable. This is very messy work, so don't judge. Put that into velocity, and away we go. No, not this. Okay. So hopefully, is he got? It collided with me. Hold on. Let's make it so it doesn't collide with me. Oh no, it's this one. No. Wait, what? Where's the collision of it? Why? I'm confused. Why is that not got collision? Right. There you go. So it's a little bit off. Okay. So, oh. It may have something to do with that initial speed we give it. Yeah. So it's not too bad. But that would be the start of it, I would imagine. But it's something I would like to do probably as like a full series at some point. So let us know in the comments if you think you would like to see a fishing tutorial. I'll do some testing, some prototyping, and I'll come back with a fishing tutorial. Dunk. And then reel it in. And if you do want a fishing tutorial, is there a particular game that has a fishing mini game that you like? Okay, next question. Crazy Boa. Hello. How do you change the attributes of a single level, making several copies? For example, time attack when open in one widget, collect rings, and hang on, what? How to change the attributes of a single level without making several copies? For example, a time attack when open in one widget, collect rings when open in... Oh, right, I see what you mean. So you can just use different game modes or use data layers to change things around. So in your data layers, if you use it on Unreal Engine 5, that is, you have access to data layers only if you're in partition mode. Okay, so if you're not in partition mode, you can change it in the world settings, turn on partition. But you need to make data layer assets. So you typically keep it with your map. You right click and I forget where it is. Data layer in miscellaneous. And so you say this is like time attack mode. Mode. And you may put in like the first person map, like title of it, first person map. So you know what one it is. Then over here in the data layers, you right click in here and you create a new data layer. And then down here, you assign the data layer asset to your time attack mode first person map. Okay, so now you can add things to your data asset, a layer. Sorry. So let's say we had like time gates or something like that for it. You just have like, I don't know, let's make a simple time gate. Cylinder. one time gate. Yeah, so if we were to just add these to the map, you know, wherever we want, you select them, and on your data layers, you just right click on your layer and you add selected actors to selected data layers. Do that. So then when you want to load up the map in your game mode, you give it information like through options in there. So you can do a lot with the options in the option string in the game mode. I'll show you that in a second, but essentially you have this layer you can turn off and on. Okay. So to load it all up like that in your game mode, when you launch the level, you have this, like if you come from the menu, for example, you have open level by name, and in here you have options. You can put whatever you want in here. So if you wanted to do like mode equals, and then do time, like that, for example, that will then go to the game mode, which is over here, into the game mode. And when it loads up the level, so like begin play, for example, or post login or whatever you want to do, on begin play, we can get the option string. And then we can pass it. Pass option. You search for the mode, the key mode, and then that outputs time, whatever it is when you do blah, 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 blah. And then you can do a switch on the string. So this might be time. I don't know if I did capital letters or not, but do time there. And then you can then load up data layers and things like that. So data layer, and you'll see get data layer subsystem. And you can do data layer again, and you'll see no add no, like one. What one is it? Data layer manager, maybe. Data layer. If in doubt, turn off the context sensitive and look for it there. Data layer. Get data layer instance from asset. Set data layers. Where is it? Have they changed it since I last looked at this? There's a way to turn it off and on. It says from asset, data layer asset, load. Have a look. No. Data layer. I can't remember. I can't remember what it used to be. I've done a video on it a while ago when it first came in, but I think they've changed it. Hey, let me have a look what they changed it to. UE 5.3 data layers. When I Google it, my video comes up, so that's great, isn't it? Yeah, it's data layer subsystem, so I did have it right. It was, so apparently it's this, and then set data layer state. Okay, there you go. That's the one. Yeah, so you choose a data layer, you make the data layer actor. No, you promote it to a variable. And you can then choose the data layer there. There you go. And then in the state, you can choose whether it's loaded, activated, whatever. Okay. So activated means it'll be loaded and it's doing its stuff. So yeah, use that. But you do that to turn off and on different aspects of the level. And then the game mode also triggers off for this and figures out what it wants to do, timers and things like that. But data layers is the answer to that. Long roundabout question. How does data layers go with saving level data? Is there extra steps required to save the different layers data? Good question. I don't know. I haven't tested it. I don't know. I'll look it up and figure it out. I'll have a look. Vinny Guerrero, what's the best way to load data tables, data assets without hitting performance if you too many of them? I'll be very impressed if you hit too many of them. Like, we're talking about millions, so you're okay. If you are going into like a very, very high number, data assets are going to be more performant for you. Data tables, the problem with data tables, every time you want to do a query of a data table, it starts from the top. So if the thing you want right at the bottom, it's going to go all the way through the list. So, yeah. Any Twitch questions? Far Cry 5 got a cool mission fishing game. I haven't played. Have I played Far Cry 5? I cannot recall. That's one for me to look at. How can it match? How can I set the default camera? Sorry, I'm a noob. It's okay. You're not a noob. It's okay. So to set default camera, by default, the game is going to tell the controller to look through the eyes or camera of whatever it's processing. If you want to overstep that and override it, let's say I want to put in my own camera here. So I just search for camera actor like this, okay? And let's say it's going to be like a static camera for the whole level, like that. You can either add code to the camera itself, or you can use the level blueprint. Either one, up to you. So if you are using the level blueprint, you need to click on the camera first and get a reference to it. So create reference to camera actor. And then on begin play, you drag out from your get player controller and do set view target with blend. And you just plug in the camera actor into there. If you want it to blend to that camera, like move over to it, you just put in a time value in here. Otherwise, it will cut to it. So if I push play, the game is going to cut to a top-down camera. If it plays. Or crashes. Brilliant. Good stuff. Unreal 5.3. Let's wait for that to come back up. Nope. Skip restore. Okay. But yeah, there you go. That's what that does. I'm not going to rebuild it for the sake of it, but yeah, that's what it does. Keebs, can you also do a multiplayer save load system one day? Be careful what you ask for here. So multiplayer save system, do you mean like an online multiplayer save system? If that's the case, then you're doing a lot more work because you have to save it to probably an SQL database if you want to upload that save data. If you want to save it locally, it's the same as any other single player game. But if it's a multiplayer game where you want to sync it to a server, then yes, you need to do a lot more SQL stuff than unwilling or bothered can be done. Then yeah, and then if you're doing local multiplayer, then yes, you can save slots of different player controllers. I'm gonna guess you mean online multiplayer. But yeah. Red Fog offended something cool. He used 1, 2, 3 to switch through cameras in the editor. Yeah, you can set favorites. So like I can set a camera here, for example. And I think it's Control 1. And then if I push 1 again, yeah. So you set up your cameras at Control 2, Control 3, Control 4, and then I can swap between different view modes and basically I've stored that as a place that I can always come back to. So yeah, it's a neat little trick. Mark Holler, I know how to create melee combat. I sphere cast to find the nearest enemy and launch towards it, then I fire my attack, but it just doesn't feel impactful enough. Any tips to make it look cooler? Yeah, chances are you haven't added in visual effects or sound effects, things like that. So visual effects and sound effects carry a lot when it comes to impact of stuff. Visual effects will hide any gaps between models, so do that. And then sound effects will also make a lot of work too. And you can also do the ramping up and ramping down technique that animators use too by cutting out frames of an attack. So if I bring in like an animation, let me find one. For the fishing tour, I want it to be as realistic as possible. Oh, I don't know if I have the patience for that. So we'll see. I think most people would want to see a mini game version. I mean, it's not much different. It's just a mini game, just with more stuff in it. So it's not too much different. There we go. So yeah, let me put in like this one, for example. QT119. By the way, here's a little thing for you. Let's say you've downloaded some assets from the marketplace, like this one, and it isn't compatible with your project. Just tick show all projects, choose your one, you'll get an error. Change that to the latest version, and it'll add it to you. For most things that are not a plugin, it'll work. If it's a plugin, a little bit trickier. It may not do that. Yeah, hit stop is important for melee combat too. Yeah, you want to hit melee. So if you hit them, your animation would stop. Yeah, it's a very common thing to do. But if you want like the swipes to go right through and anything like, then yeah, you can use visual effects, sound effects, rumble, and also like cutting frames out of animations to make it more snappy. So, for example, if I go into this one and just pick one of the attacks, this one, like this, for example, we can cut some frames out of here. So you can do, there's a way to do it. Oh. No, there is. Where is it? Hang on, I can't remember the thing. Hang on. Oh yeah. Okay, yeah. To cut frames out in the middle, you have to do this. So you duplicate it, and then in this one, I'm going to cut out from 306, remove 307 to 5551, and then I can go into this one, and I'm going to cut out like there's 306. We'll go to about there. And remove frames 0, 2, 3, 2, 9. And then you use a composite, and that's what the composite's used for if you've never seen it before. Animation composite. You can put them together. That one. And yep, that's that. And we're gonna put in. Let me just dock this out. It'd be a lot easier to do this. Docking. Why is it docking? I just want this one. Let's see. What one is it called? So annoying. Attack 05, attack 06. 05, 06. Okay, so it's a composite now. And so by cutting frames out of it, and you can tweak this a little bit more as well in here if you want. You can like mess about with how snappy it is. So I can bring this down a bit, maybe. So you see, you got a little bit of a snap to it. Start time will increase there. So you can do like things like that, which make it feel a bit more snappy and things like that. But visual effects do go a long way. So yeah, play about with it. How does one affect a hit stop? You just tell the animation to stop playing. That's literally all you do. Stop playing montage. Has Unreal the possibility to run a triangulation system like that in Rainbow Six Siege, like cutting polygons and all that stuff? Yeah, you can can do that. Yeah, way too much to go into now, but yes, you can definitely do that. Another trick I found for adjusting the camera speed in the editors further while holding down the right mouse button, the scroll wheel gives you fine speed controls. Yes, it does. You can basically just scroll up and down. It's no different than going up to here. But another thing you can do, oh, hello, is use the Alt. So if you're like struggling like getting things framed up perfectly by using WASD, so like I want to frame it on here, you've got a couple of things to help you in your arsenal. F focuses on the object, so not too bad. But then you can use traditional 3D modeling practices for moving the camera around. So if you hold down the Alt key and left mouse button, you can pan around the center point in a lot more gradual fashion. So rather than writing about WSD, you can do stuff like this. Right mouse button zooms in and zooms out. And with the middle mouse button, you can pan it. So if you've used Blender or Maya, it's the same sort of setup. Help you navigate around. So if you rely on WSD too much and you find it's a bit too like, you can just do Alt and move it perfectly where you want it to go. Because like also scroll wheel, you got the snappy bit here like this, and it may be like too much, too little. In this case, you can just like use the mouse and just scroll it in exactly how you want it to go. Yeah. Scroll up because I missed a load here. Hang on. Animator Alex, how do you set items and assets for entirety of the game as a setting? Sound effects, voice, accessibility, color, blood effects, off and on. Where are those set up for the whole game itemization creation? It's in a save file. So you make like a file which stores all that information in like a save game file. There is a game settings system you can use as well, but that only has certain access to certain things. So, for example, if you go to game settings, user settings, there you go. You can get stuff from here too. So this is like mostly used for like graphical things. So if you want to change like resolution, foliage quality, you know, all these things, you can mess about with that. Okay. And you can then take to save the settings as separate things and load settings as separate things. But if you want to do really custom stuff like accessibility options, there's no built-in stuff for that. You'd have to boot that in yourself. That involves just creating a save system that loads up as soon as you load the game. And then when you make changes, you just save it to that save system. You'll set the defaults. Yeah, you just make your own. Oh, sorry. Own one of these, basically. There's also Maps and mode settings, which does stuff too. No, what? Oh, wait, it does now. Mode. Nope, can't remember what it does. You can do stuff with it, but I don't know what. Local map settings. Don't know. I don't ever use it. I just make my own. I only use this one. So yeah. Adeptus Incompetus. Do you know anything about making a tool that can check gameplay aspects while level designing? I don't mean a character test map, but a tool you can use while editing an actual game level. What I mean, it depends what kind of things you want to do, but this is why you see in especially older games, you see a debug thing where you can access the debug menu and give yourselves like godlike powers to do stuff and test stuff out quicker. Yeah. Crazy Boa 7. How would you use autosave in a specific levels, for example, in Hub World, but not in other instances? So every level, I think I've done a video on it before, but you have 3 save types. You have a general save file, which is storing things like your settings, file names for your save games, and that's it. The second one is sorry, the third one, sorry, is your no, second one, sorry, is your player save data. That is all stuff that is local to your particular player character and your game. So your progress, your level, your equipment, your items, all that stuff is stored there. And then you have level save data. And level save data, you have a save file per level if you want it to be persistent. Most games don't. So when you leave a level, come back to the level, things have respawned, and things like that. So it's a matter of knowing what you want to save or what you don't want to save. But I do like the save file of the level is broken into 2 parts, into 2 strings. The first string is the player's save file name, and the second part is the level name. And so when I'm looking for a level save file, I just look for the player save string, and I look for the level string, and I get them together and find the file. But yeah, it's quite a bit to go into. I won't go into it, but I'm pretty certain I've done videos on it. There is one I'm currently working on, which is a fully blown save system series, where it'd be fully featured, where you can like overwrite save files, duplicate save files, delete save files, the whole series on that. That's currently being developed and prototyped. So that'll be happening some point soon, but we'll see. Novex, casting, interfaces, event dispatches, and inheritance are critical topics to understand thoroughly. Generally speaking, do you have advice for a beginner learning these topics at the same time? So if you want to learn the individual things like casting, interfaces, etc., follow tutorials which are going to give you test cases, very, very short test cases, so you can see how they work. More importantly, it's important to not accept anything on face value. Try to understand what they're actually meant to do and what they're actually meant to achieve. Too many times do I see people saying, using casting to do checks. Yes, it can do checks, but that's a side effect of it. That's not what it's for, though. Casting is there to transform a parent reference to its child reference. Interfaces. Some people would say, oh, don't use a cast, use an interface for everything. Yeah, technically you could, but interfaces are best used when you've got things that aren't related and you want to communicate between them. So, like, I always use the example of like a door and an apple. In a game, you push a button to interact with an apple, you eat the apple. In that same game, you interact with a door with the same button, it won't eat the door, it will open the door. So they have the same input, but different outputs. And yeah, everything's got its own reasons for existing, and try to understand the best practice for each one of these in their own little bubble. Try to understand them in your own little thing. And then if you are a beginner going into this process, don't make anything complex. So avoid RPGs. Too many people I see try and make RPGs. Don't do it. Make something really simple. I always advise to try and make a simple arcade game, something that you can play and be done with in 5 to 10 minutes. Something you play at the arcades. Let's do something simple like that. Or even better, rip off and try to make a game that is in the arcade. So try and make Space Invaders or Pong or Pac-Man. Try to recreate those games. Pac-Man's a little bit tricky, but you can definitely try it. Try to recreate those because you're going to learn a lot from just doing that. And once you've done it once, do it again. Because by the time you got to the end of the project, you would have learned how to actually do it well, and you would have found out all the mistakes you made and all the things you would have done better next time. And that happens for all your projects, no matter how big the project is. If you're making a big ass AAA title, you're going to learn a lot doing that. And then when you come back to make the sequel or make the next game, you can apply that same learning to it. So it's exactly the same. No matter the scale of the project, you're always going to learn new stuff to make it better next time. So yeah, it always goes to shit towards the end though. So heads up. Let's find another question. One anime finder. How do I get AI follow a spline but not being attached so it can go off and attack the player if it sees them and goes back to spline when it's done? AI has been spawned in dynamically. If the AI has been spawned in dynamically, you can't assign it a spline easily. So yeah, I don't know how you're doing that. Yeah. Logo Tony 64. Hey Ryan, love your videos. What's the best approach to control the Z height location of the camera? For example, 3D Mario camera doesn't move up when you jump. So the best thing to do is to make the camera a separate actor. When you get into advanced sort of camera work, you're probably going to be using a separate actor. But if you don't, you can also use camera modifiers to do a lot of the work for you. So before you tell the camera to adjust and change, you can manipulate it with the camera modifiers. But honestly, I would just make it a separate actor and put it on. This is why, by the way, in Mario 64, they showcased the Lakitu as the one holding the camera. Because 3D cameras back then were brand new. People weren't familiar with them. They didn't know how they worked. So to help visualize it to people, they had Lakitu hold a camera up and you were viewing the game through Lakitu's eyes. And that was how they communicated that to the players who'd never seen a 3D camera before. That's actually a good way to think about how to do cameras in general. Think of it as a separate thing that's just following you around and then adjusting as it needs to. So if you jump, it goes, oh, you haven't jumped high enough yet. I'll keep you in frame. As long as I keep you in frame, we're good. So yeah. Otherwise, you can mess about the lag. Why is it crashing so much? Oh, well, we're at the end anyway, so we'll just go full screen and just answer questions. So, yeah. Skip that restore. I just have an AI spawner. Yeah, you have an AI spawner, but how are you making them follow a spline? I'm assuming your spline's already in the world. How are you approaching that problem? But nonetheless, if you've got them going around a spline working, okay, that's great for you. But to make them leave the spline, yes, you have to detach them, but you have to save where they were on that spline. So you can get store the location, and there's a node where you can use called find nearest location on spline from distance, or it's stuff like that. Find distance along spline nearest to location. You feed it a location, it gives you a distance along the spline that's closest to that location. and so when you return them back to it, you can return them back to the spline exactly where they were. Yeah. Up on Twitch now. Yeah, Venom. Yeah, trying to do both YouTube and Twitch. So yeah, if you want to help the channel out, make sure you subscribe to Twitch. When Mimic finally gets into beta testing, we'll be doing a lot more Twitch streams, testing that out in there. Stonehead Entertainment Mass AI Part 4 coming soon. Trying to. I've recorded. We've got 5 videos in editing at the moment, and they are inventory series. We've got like 4 videos in that coming out. Physics movement that's coming out. There's a 2D game stuff, by the way, on Patreon. We have a 2D game RPG action adventure game like Zelda on there. Part 1's there, part 2 and 3, 4 coming out today, tomorrow, whenever it is. And the FPS RPG series just started over there too. We're on episode 2 of that now, and I've recorded like another 3 episodes of that. So there's stuff coming. I'm just working my way through the to-do list, which is ever expanding. But yeah, Mass AI is one I want to get back to. Ideally, before going to Mass AI again, I want to do some videos on the state tree so people understand the state tree and how to use it, because the Mass AI system relies heavily on the state tree. But we'll see how it comes out. We'll see how it goes there. Next question. The Science is asking, hey Ryan, lovely stuff. My previous question might have been misunderstood. Switching between first and third person control mode, using a mouse to move character in third person, and first person mouse rotates view. It's just a boolean that you switch between. That's all. You just say like is in first person, is in third person. You just switch. Do what controls do. Another simple thing you could do as well with enhanced input actions is you can change the mapping context. So you can take the mapping context for the first person away and add the third person one, and have separate inputs for first and third person. To me, it's a lot of work. I'd much rather just do just a simple boolean. Sixes. It is on my to-do list to do geometry editing live on that. So yeah. Yeah, Leo, yes. I did see your message on Discord about our private session. I'll have to look at the calendar. I'll look at it after today, after we finish here. Nanette, hey, hi Ryan. I was just wondering if it's possible to request a future tutorial on the motion warping component for combat. Yeah, I've actually done. I've used it for a couple of live streams. I think I can't recall now. I think I've done it for a couple of live streams, but I'll try and make some dedicated videos on the motion warping, for sure. Yeah. FYI, for those who didn't see the post and everything like that, private training sessions are paused currently unless you already are an existing client or Patreon member. In which case your sessions carry on as normal, as usually if they're regular ones. We will be restarting them back up, like March probably when I get back from GDC. At the moment we've got a lot of work, like contract work doing at the moment, and also I've got prep for GDC to do with Mimic and things like that. So yeah, it's a whirlwind at the moment. So we're trying to pause it and come back to it later on in the year, in a few months' time, I'm sure. When do you plan to do your enhanced in action mapping video? It's done. Patreon have it. There's 3 parts to it currently. There might be some more coming out for it soon. When, I don't know, but they're on Patreon and they should be out today. Friday, I think, publicly. The first one will be out Friday. Something like that. It's very soon. It'll be Friday or Monday. I'm pretty sure it'll be Friday. When you're in a game jam, how polished should your baseline be? If I'm a game jam, I'm just getting it done. I don't care about how polished it is. If it works, great, it will do. In game jams, you're very much following that'll do approach. Yeah, that'll do. It's close enough. That'll do. Um, yeah, yes, yeah. That's what I mean. Six suffix. Yeah, you can do it live in game. That's what I meant. There's a thing you can do. But yeah. Yeah, Mimic's looking great. Don't know if you guys saw my post on Twitter. I shared a updated sort of animation preview of the Mimic transforming back into human form as a first draft, and it's looking pretty good. I think there's a few more bits to add to it, but it's looking good. Yeah, I'm looking forward to getting that game in people's hands for testing, which is very soon. It feels like it's getting sooner and sooner. But yeah. And that leads me quite nicely on to the next question from Loco Tony. What's the most complex thing you've made in Unreal? I'm assuming it's a game you're working on right now. The game we're working on right now, Mimic, gameplay wise, isn't the most complex thing. Basically, anything multiplayer is complex. So, but it's definitely not the most complex thing. The most complex thing are some private contract work that I've done for people. Uh, yeah. It does involve online multiplayer stuff. Yeah, online multiplayer just it sucks to make. I think in the next game I make won't be multiplayer. um. High voltage, would it be possible to make a tutorial on modular equipment system and best practices around it, especially the multiple skeletons, different proportions? A modular equipment system, you ideally don't have it as separate skeletons, different skeletons. You have them as the same skeleton. I would very much avoid it otherwise. Yeah. Do you know how to do hot swappable character like Genshin Impact? Yeah, I've got videos on it. I released them like last month, whatever it was. Switching characters, hot swapping characters. Switch. So Michael Jensen, thanks for the content. I'm curious if there's a way to have your player's momentum switch on executing an action. For example, I have a slide state in my NMBP, but I can infinitely slide. Huh? Have your player to switch on executing an action? For example, I have slides. I mean, you could always tell them to stop movement. There's that node. You stop movement immediately. That'll tell them to that. You can also set the velocity to 0. You can disable inputs. Quite a few things you could do. But yeah. But that will have to do for today. It's gone past midnight here. It's very late. I'm very tired. We're gonna call it a time there. We're live again on Saturday. Doing a level design live stream. But I want to hear from you. What thing would you like to see most when it comes to level design lesson? What would you like to see discussed? I've got some ideas of what we could do. But yeah, I'm looking for suggestions. Is there stuff that you really desperately want to know how to do? Because right now I'm thinking we're going to do a live stream about caves and some good practice around cave work. So if you want to know how to do caves, we can do that Saturday if you want. How do you feel about that? I've got some interesting methods for making caves now, which are pretty neat. Okay. Yeah. Okay, we'll do caves. Cool. Also, caves sound good. Also, some UI tips for. Is that UI tips for better workflow, Devro? Was that which? Quick tips for better workflow. Sorry, I got you. Quick tips. How to keep it on good performance, maybe. Optimization tips. Yeah, we've done some videos on optimization. We've done live streams on optimization. I'll make some videos on optimization too. Yeah, cool. Okay. Coca-Cola's not going to help you sleep. Nothing helps me sleep. It's all good. Like, we're finishing now, but I've still got stuff to do. I just don't end. Sound AI for buildings like hearing enemies above you. Yeah, we can do videos on that. That's easy enough to do. Level stream instance for level design as well. Okay, yeah. Nice. Okay, brilliant. Well, take care, everyone. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to support the channel, head over to patreon.com /Ryan Daly. You get access to all our videos early. Plus, you can get to join in the creator challenge every month. So this month's one is quite a cool one. I'm looking forward to seeing everyone's results for that. If you don't know what it is, it's basically like a little mini game jam where you get feedback on your code work, and you get to see I'll get to see some interesting things you can put together as little tests. So thank you so much, everyone. We'll see you again live on Saturday. And yeah, ciao.